You are listening to Chai with the CEO, a Random Genius Media original.
Welcome, Peter, to Chai with the CEO. Good morning. I hope you're having a good morning in
Good morning,
Namaste.
Sheldon. Thank you very much.
Great.
Namaste.
Namaste. So, Peter, before we kick off with the questions, I have a little intro that I want to play for you, and I hope you will approve. I'm sorry I didn't email it to you before this interview, but it's a little surprise and it's being done by someone very special to me.
Oh, that's great.
More details after I hit play and it plays. Yeah. So
the suspense is killing me.
The suspense is killing you. Just hang on.
Meet Peter Bithos, a visionary leader, master strategist, and one of the most genuinely people-centered CEOs you'll ever meet. From driving digital transformation at Globe Telecom to reimagining how Asia discovers meaningful careers at Seek, Peter's journey is marked by bold thinking, big heart, and an uncanny ability to inspire teams across cultures and continents. He's worked alongside icons like Sir Richard Branson, but it is his humility, curiosity, and commitment to empowering others that truly set him apart. Whether he's mapping out the future of work or mentoring the next generation of leaders, Peter leads with clarity, compassion, and just the right dose of fun. This is a leader who doesn't just build companies, he builds people. Welcome to Chai with the CEO, Peter Bithos.
So I was saying chai to that.
Chai to that. Oh, Teremakasi, as they say. That's
my
beautiful.
daughter, Isabella.
Oh, and see, she clearly needs to do her fact checking a little bit more with ChatGPT. There's far too many positive things. I think there's a bit of hallucination there with ChatGPT, but I appreciate it very much.
Hallucination. That was actually scripted by her as well.
That's fantastic. Well, she's great at following the tech scene in Asia then.
Correct. So Peter, welcome to Chai with the CEO. This has been actually a long time in the making, but I'm glad we finally have you here. Let's hope the Wi-Fi holds up, and
let's hope.
Let's to use Peter's phrase, let's jump into it, right? Let's jump into it.
So, exactly right. I'm ready to go.
Jump into it. So at Globe Telecom, Peter, you were credited with igniting a digital revolution. Did the telcos ever fully recover from the Bithos hurricane, or are they still trying to patch things up?
I do think they're trying to patch things up, but yeah, I was really fortunate. It's funny how life goes. I had an opportunity to move to Asia, and I had young kids at the time, and I was in Australia, and Asia to me was Singapore or Bangkok, and the board I was working with said, well, how about Manila, which was not on the list. And I was fortunate enough to join a new group CEO. His name was Ernest. He's very, very talented. And over a period of about 5 years, we pretty much took this small Filipino telco, transformed pretty much everything about it. Actually, now it's got one of Asia's largest fintech businesses as well, which will be larger than the telco soon. The next raise is likely to be over 5 billion, to give you a sense of the fintech, how that's going. So it was just tiny when I was there. So that was a great experience, and Sheldon, that got me hooked on Asia, and I'm still here.
Funny you should use the term hook. We'll come to that in a bit.
Exactly.
What's tougher, transforming telecommunications in Philippines or convincing your kids to eat their vegetables?
I would say depends on the vegetables.
Okay, good answer. Good answer. You once called Globe an insurgent inside a giant. What's your best advice for people trying to spark change inside a big, slow-moving organization?
Look, the first thing I will say, it is very hard to spark change without great sponsorship from the very top. I remember, I'm not that old where I remember days I was middle manager, and you're mid-level of the organization. It really is hard to spark change in larger companies. So find find either an executive who's willing to sponsor you, or or join an organization where you believe that change is supported from the very, very top. I do think transformation comes top down, not bottoms up, and yeah. So find the right team is what I would say.
Correct. And in fact, that is one of the reasons for doing Chai with the CEO, wherein people, employees, students get to get to hear from the people right at the top, because sometimes there's a lot of lost in translation kind of a syndrome where you don't really know what to do with your great ideas, right? So you have a great idea, you feel you can take it to completion. So number one, you're saying is find a sponsor within the organization who believes in your idea, and then you've won half the battle, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would say if you're just in your early 20s, unless you are built in a manner where you just want to do a startup yourself from scratch, but aside from that, most young people starting in their careers go somewhere where you will learn. You will have plenty of time to wreak havoc and change things. Just fantastic. But in your early 20s, you just want to learn. You want to learn how organizations work. You want to learn how to navigate them. Sometimes if you're graduating from a liberal arts, you got a lot to learn about business. So spend your 20s learning and take as much in as possible. And as you get into your late 20s and early 30s, that's when you can really start making your mark. And then in that situation, yeah, find a sponsor, find a cause, find a change message that you really want to lean into, you think you can help, and find the right sponsor, or the right organization will let you do things that you like.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Let's talk about Hook for a bit, because that's where we work together. That's how I got to know of you.
I'm
Got to
very
know
lucky
you
to get to know you through that
Get to know,
process.
yes, you. And of course, those country reviews were always memorable.
I still do them.
Every Friday morning, you still do them.
I do
That
them. I do them. Actually, I do them now once a quarter, given my
Okay.
role now.
Okay.
I look after 8 markets now,
Wow.
and I've got a pretty senior team. So I've got it's a much larger organization than we were at Hook. So
Correct.
I do every quarter. I do every country, just like the old days. In fact, I like to remind, on the topic of Chai with the CEO, there's a great Harvard Business case study. It's not really a case study, but it's more a report. They surveyed pretty methodically. I think Michael Porter did it actually. Pretty methodically, the top 500 Fortune 500 CEOs. I mean, you were talking, Jamie Dimon, Tim Cook, right? So when you're talking Fortune 500, you're talking at that level. And what they did is they followed Fortune 500 CEOs for something like a year, and they had access to their calendar, and they were able to quantitatively plot out how these Fortune 500 CEOs, the masters of the universe, spend their time. And I find that report fascinating, because when you read it, you're expecting, because these are Fortune 500 CEOs, they're with investors, they're with media. Actually, the largest chunk of time, more than 25% of time of a Fortune 500 CEO, is spent in just standard business reviews, and another 25% is spent on one-on-ones and other team meetings. So even at the Fortune 500 CEO level, running the business is just a fundamental part of what you do. And you just got to take the rituals and keep grinding.
Love it. Love it. Thank you so much for that insight. I mean, this is what I live for, right? I mean, it has to come straight from the CEO's mouth. So I'm going to check out that review. It's really really enlightening and very
I'll send you
insightful.
the link. You could post it on the attachment to the podcast, and so listeners can kind
Yes,
of check out the
yes,
link below
yes.
in the blurb.
Would love
Yeah,
that. Would
yeah,
love
no
that.
worries.
Would love that. So how close did we come to becoming the Netflix of Asia at Hook?
Oh,
What's your thought?
not very close.
Not really.
But it was fantastic. So for the listeners out there who maybe don't know,
Yes.
so I was in telco for a very long time, and was at a time where I was ready for a change. I've been in telco for 10 or 15 years, and I had never done a startup. And for those in Southeast Asia and India, you would remember maybe 2015, 2014, very heady days in venture capital, and it's very different now. And actually, funding now is a lot harder. But at the time, I wanted to do a startup. I had an opportunity to work on an idea to start a movie and TV streaming service. And actually, the bet wasn't that bad. You know, when you start a startup, if you want to do big things, you're one of the many things you are making is you're making a bet that the value chain and the fundamental business model that you set out to build will evolve the way you think. That's part of the bet and disruption of a startup. So we thought the world would evolve. You know, if you recall, your mothers or your fathers may still have pay TV. You know, they have one subscription to get all the channels in one place.
Yes.
I certainly don't have pay TV anymore, but I remember those days. And it was distribution sitting on top of fragmented content. And we thought the world would evolve very similarly in the streaming world. And we knew that satellite pay TV players couldn't likely make the jump, and they haven't. So we got that right. And we thought digital distribution models would evolve in very similar ways. So you would get aggregation points. So you would only need one service, two at the most. And as it happens, everybody knows by now, content providers decided that it was a good idea to go direct, taking their own content, starting their own platforms, which turned out to be a horrific idea in the media landscape. But one of the first casualties was any independent streamers like ourselves. So we spent 5 years trying to build it, and it was quite successful in many ways. We got quite large, especially in Indonesia. We were the largest streaming service at one point. But Indonesia, India, Thailand, Philippines,
Philippines.
Singapore.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, so
Yes.
it was you know, original content, licensed content, the whole 9 yards. It was super intense. I learned a lot about startups. In the end, it didn't work. We had to sell it to Coupang from Korea, who is the largest e-commerce player in Coupang, but we sold it as an asset sale. And anybody, including myself, who had any equity involved, it was bye-bye. So that was very traumatic. We could talk about that if you want. But it was, I felt, looking back now, you know, we all had a front row seat to watching the media value chain completely fall apart and kill itself, which is kind of what happened. So that's why these days Disney, HBO, you know, even Star and players like that, they're really hurting these days. And it's because of how the value chain evolved. So there you go. Yeah, it was a crazy
Correct.
5-year journey.
Yes. Yes. What's the one pitch meeting that made you that's a lasting memory or made you cringe in your mind? Any one experience that you care to share?
You mean a pitch? What? Like? Sorry,
Like a
what
pitch
kind of
meeting,
meeting?
a pitch meeting either to investors,
Oh yeah,
to partners, that
yeah,
to
yeah.
management.
I would
for that
say,
matter.
I would say, probably. Oh geez, there were so many.
There's so many.
There were so many. I would say we had an investor, Warner Brothers, and you know, they trying to pitch to kind of go all in. They were trying an each way bet, licensed to us at the same time, and they were making millions off of licensing, and they would only give us a little bit of the content. You know, had they gone all in, there was scenarios at which, you know, they would have been the dominant streamer in Southeast Asia. They lost 5 years. You know, they eventually rolled out, you know, Max and HBO Max or whatever it's called now, like in 2022, 2023. And that's
Correct.
7 years of a journey they kind of gave up just to take some license fees out of it. Warner Brothers at the time was the individuals at Warner Brothers were really smart. They were good executives, but they were really trapped in an incumbent dilemma, and
They
as
didn't
a
get a
result,
sponsor at the top. They didn't get a
no,
sponsor.
no, no, exactly,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So
Great ideas, but unfortunately,
yeah,
no sponsor at the top.
yeah, exactly.
So across, so across Globe, Hook, and Seek, you've done some incredibly diverse. You've led some incredibly diverse teams. What's your leadership style? Radical empathy, ruthless efficiency, or Jedi mind tricks?
I'm probably Jedi mind tricks are probably not my forte. I don't mind, a lightsaber fight every now and again, but the mind trick part, I'm just a young Padawan. Look, I think it changes over time, right? I think when you're young and when I was a CEO for Virgin Mobile, working with Richard Branson and the Singtel group, yeah, it was super young. I was 34 or something like that. And it was my first CEO gig. And I look back now and I was just a different executive. I think in your 30s, you're insecure. You use a lot of brute force. You really rely on intensity of detail. And you're stubborn. The older you get, the more you rely and try to work through others. It is your responsibility at the end of the day, set vision, set a direction, but then you're kind of rallying everybody in a general direction. So I kind of see myself as, I mean, the sports analogy is overdone, but I do try to think of myself like a Pat Riley for the LA Lakers, or a coach who has these superstars, and you got to get superstars working together, and you got to get superstars going in the same direction, and get superstars motivated to do amazing things. There are so many stories of great sports teams and great stars that never win championships, and so I see myself more and more of, mentor and setting the vision and setting the direction, and off we go. I also do like to give permission to take risk. If there probably is a little bit of thing that stands out about me, is my willingness to kind of go, let's go try something. I had a mentor once that said, whatever your spreadsheet says, Peter, it's wrong. The question is, how is it wrong? And you're never going to know until you do it.
Nice, very nice. Startup Peter versus corporate Peter. Who's faster, funnier, and more dangerous in a boardroom battle?
Oh, startups. Definitely startup battle. So in boardrooms, oh man, it's not only my own boardroom at the time at Hook, but many startup boardrooms that I'm aware of and have been close to. Oh my gosh. By the time you're a large corporate public company, boards are not staid, but first of all, the level of maturity of a board is different. The risk management is different. The types of conversation can be excellent, very, very good, and very big picture, but it is all about the pros, the cons, the risks, the opportunities, and very methodical weighing of that. When you're a startup, by far the roughest tumble kind of boards are the startup boards.
Got it. So you're all about digital transformation, right? I mean, you've always been a champion of digital
Yep,
transformation.
love it.
What happens when the Wi-Fi goes down at home?
Oh, chaos. Not for myself, actually, from my 3 teenage daughters. All of a sudden have to go back to my telco days and like run infrastructure again. Myself, increasingly, I don't have it here, but I don't use an iPad or my phone to take notes. I'm not completely analog. I use a Remarkable e-ink
Correct.
notebook,
Yes.
and I use it because it is as close to analog as you can get, and in that there's no notifications, there's connectivity, but only to sync your notes. So it allows you focus and intentful time. and that's important when you're a busy tech executive. Getting thinking time and not being distracted is now more important to me than staying connected.
Correct. Makes complete sense. And of course, you don't forget to write.
Yes,
Your handwriting is maintained. Otherwise, everyone's going
yes.
digital, and when you have to sign, I'm guilty of that. I can hardly sign on a piece of paper.
Well,
So
it's funny. I mean, this is just a little thing. I love giving little handwritten thank you notes. It's a lost art of sort.
it's a lost art.
From time to time, I've been known to give a card or two, and in the day and age of a quick, well, it used to be a quick email. Now it's a quick WhatsApp, or it's a quick, Slack message or something like that. A thoughtful 5-6 sentences handwritten on a card can really reach and touch someone in a different way.
At this point, it would be good to do a shout out to Richard Ferrier, who worked under you at Globe, remembers you very fondly, and he's now a big man
Oh,
at Signal. Uh, and of course, a
oh,
client.
that's fantastic.
Yeah, Signal Super.
Yes.
They just launched in Philippines, Signal Super. So he's
Yeah.
a product marketing in charge.
Well,
And
hello, Richard, if you're listening.
yes, and
And
I will send in this clip. Yes.
oh, that's fantastic. Hello to mom too. My mother, I'm sure, will listen to this. Yes.
Excellent. So if your career were turned into a movie, what genre would it be? Thriller, comedy, musical, or something else?
Epic.
Epic.
No, I am. Probably, what would be a movie where it involves like lots of different countries around the world, and you're flying all over the world. Sometimes I feel like that my life journey's been like that. I would go so about, like, the movie that comes to mind is Mission Impossible, but that would imply that I think myself as Tom Cruise, which I do not in so many ways. I neither qualify nor do I want to qualify. So, but
Around the world in 80 days.
there we go. There we go. Around the world in 80 days. Much better, Peg. Yeah. So,
Could be.
yeah. That would be good. That would be good.
I've always noticed you love to travel, right? I mean, you love to
I
meet
do.
people in person.
I
That's
do.
always a trait of yours, right?
Yeah, I just got off the plane. Last week I was in Melbourne, and the week before I was in Bandung, Indonesia, and I took the bullet train from Jakarta to Bandung.
Wow.
And that was just in the last 10 days. And I think that's a really good synopsis of, how and why. I mean, I'm Greek by descent, and so a certain amount of me grew up quite international, and I feel very privileged and fortunate to have built a life where I'm able to see a good chunk of the planet and meet with different cultures and people from all over the world, and it's fantastic.
Yeah. And you bring that global vision to the boardroom, because whenever we've had meetings, you're always drawing on experiences from all over the globe, and it's really been enlightening. We should also say hi to Ritu
Oh,
Kokreja.
Ritu.
Yeah.
Hi, I just
Yeah.
caught up with her in
Yeah.
Singapore. She was coming through. This was maybe 2 months ago.
Okay.
And she does a really good job at keeping in touch. Another thing I would say to young talent out there is the job of if you want mentors and want to stay connected, it's not always a two-way street. So it's your accountability to keep in touch with your seniors and your mentors and things like that than the other way around.
True.
But I love getting those. So Ritu, I'm not great at always going back, but I'm always happy to catch up. And but it's one of the joys of this stage of a career is helping young talent like Ritu and do amazing
Lovely.
things. Yeah, she's just moved to
Lovely.
Bangalore, actually. Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. You're more in touch with her than I am, but thank you for that information. I shall get in touch with her immediately after this call. So
Mhm.
excellent. You've navigated a lot of pivots, right, Peter?
Yeah.
Do you ever wake up in the night shouting "pivot" like Ross from Friends?
No, not quite, but I do think nothing ventured, nothing gained. I am definitely one to take larger risks than I think normal executives, as particularly even in large companies right now. We're just in the midst at Seek of transforming a fundamental business model across our Asian markets, doing a few really large bets, and it's been fantastic. First of all, it's fun. Second of all, risk on the downside typically matches opportunity on the upside. And if you can find formulas that mitigate risk that drive to opportunity, that's fantastic. So the world's changing very, very fast, and I can't believe how fast things have changed over the last 24 months. And it's going to take and require lots more risk taking of many, many companies.
Very true. Very true. So back at Hook, we joked you were either Pinky or the brain. At Seek, who's your sidekick now? Or is it still a one-man domination,
oh my God,
world domination plan?
Oh my God, it's never been one man. It's not even at Hook. No. I mean, Seek is amazing. For those listeners who may not know, so if you're listening in India, you might think of Indeed or Naukri. Naukri is a little bit more old-fashioned, but a great company with a great ground game, by the way. So we are the largest job marketplace in Asia Pacific. We basically go from South Korea down to New Zealand over to Bangladesh. We stop at Bangladesh. We're not in India yet, so maybe one day. But that triangle and everything in between, except for maybe Japan, we're kind of in. And as a job marketplace, it's an amazing company. It's about 3,500 people, half of whom are either AI engineers, product, data. It's an amazing company full of amazingly talented people. And so my role is just to help the team come together around a set of vision, along with a few other key execs and our group CEO. And then the second thing is I probably play the personal role in the organization to really, really push the boundaries of risk taking. And yeah, so I try to do that as much as possible.
Great. Peter, would be a good point to, really discuss the elephant in the room. So how is AI disrupting the job market? What's your view?
So first of all, this is something obviously every business is thinking a lot about, as are we. The first thing I would note is, Seek, it's a very forward-thinking organization. We actually have had an AI team for 7 years now. Now, obviously, large language models are new, but AI has been around for almost 10, 15 years. We started about 7, 8 years ago. We have about 250 people in our AI team. A gentleman by the name of Grant Wright runs that team. He's a peer of mine. He's amazing. So here's how we see it, right? So the act of finding talent has really not changed dramatically in a century. It's essentially a person on one side going through a horrifically terrible information sparse process, trying to find a person on the other side. And there are so many information problems, and there's over the century, these not so great mechanisms have developed, like interviews, like resumes, like resume screening, to allow proxies to help break down these information problems. In my region, in Asia Pacific, excluding China and India, about $35 billion is spent finding people. And roughly 31 billion is on people in some way, shape, or form. Only 4 billion is in technology. It shows you how inefficient it is. So what AI is essentially going to do, the very first thing it's going to do, it's just going to introduce a tremendous amount of noise in the system that already is quite noisy. And it's going to start first on the candidate side. It won't be that long, and some startups are doing this already, where you no longer need to apply for a job. You will set an AI agent in motion, and this already happens. And it just applies for jobs for you, and the first thing you know is when an interview is set up in your diary, because you give it access to your diary. This is not 3 years away. This is not 5 years away. This is like the next 12 months. And when that happens, on the hire side, every single time you go to hire a job, you're going to get 2,000 applications, and they're all going to be amazing set of credentials and skills and things like that, because the AI will craft it that way. And so then you're going to have to use AI to sort through it. And so then it's going to be AI talking to AI,
Yeah.
and my bot talking to your bot. And from that point, there's a lot of different ways the world will evolve. We shall see. But the way you find a job, which has been the same for 100 years, is about to change dramatically over the next 12 to 24 months.
Got it. So I'll scratch your bot if you scratch my bot.
That's right. That's right. Are you really, Sheldon? Did you really do the podcast Chai with the CEO, right? Would Peter really recommend you for your next gig, right? So all of these things, one of the biggest things now, and it's good to see some of the things that players like ChatGPT and Google are leaning into. On some of the things that are really important is trust. And is the data accurate? Can you verify the data? And we're spending tens of millions of dollars just on truth and verification. So we know who you are. We make sure the role is real, the company is real, and we verify skills and credentials deeper and further than anybody else. And we're doing that to set ourselves up for a really differential role in the value chain of finding people over the next 5 years.
Lovely, lovely. Thank you. You've worked across Manila, Singapore, and the wider Asia region, right? How do you adapt so easily? Deep cultural research or just great coffee?
The more the latter. I'd say 65 to 70% great coffee and listening, or chai, as the case may be.
Chai.
And 35% is about intellectually learning about the culture, learning about the history. It is more important to listen and to immerse yourself emotionally and deeply with the individuals that you're dealing with and connect. This is the best way to do it. But there is a role to play. I have, everything from a great friend of mine who said, 50 words in every language, learn 50 words, and you'll be amazed at what you could get by with 50 words. And when you hear it, you go, oh, that sounds okay. But when you then think it through, most people know if you travel around the region, you may know 5, 6 words in every language or whatever. To get to 50, there is a huge step change in communication that you're able to make. And it really helps. And that's just one little aspect, knowing about the politics, knowing about the religions, and being respectful of the religions and the customs. But I start with chai, I start with tea, and coffee. And I never tried to adapt too much, because I think you have to be true to yourself. But yeah, it's one of the privileges of my life journey to be able to live and work in so many different cultures. And it's one of the beauties of the world in the 21st century. Not many times on the planet could you do this.
Great. Peter, last question. What's next? Buying out Elon or Branson, or quietly starting a solar-powered vineyard in Tuscany?
Oh, I'm much more the latter, I think. Except it won't be Tuscany. I'm Greek by descent. One of my COVID purchases was to sprout roots back into my homeland, which I had gotten disconnected to in my 30s, and slowly been reconnecting in my 40s. And when COVID hit, I bought a old house in Crete, in the Greek islands, and it is solar powered, or it is now. No vineyards yet, but I have olive groves, and so maybe an solar-powered olive oil grove in the Greek islands. That's more my gig. But having said that, I'm really excited. I've got at least another 1 or 2 more really fat gigs in me. I am really enjoying tech in Asia, I think if you work in tech and you work in this region, you've got about the best gig in the world, right? So it's really
Very nice.
exciting, and this is the center of the universe right now. So it's all happening. So I'm not
Excellent.
retiring anytime soon.
Excellent, excellent. Peter, before you go, one piece of advice for young entrepreneurs who are watching this podcast and who want to know what's, you've given some brilliant advice about finding a sponsor. How do they get started, or how do they, assuming they've got the credentials, right? And they want to get their dream gig, how would you recommend they go about it?
Wow. Wait. They want to, so you asked a couple of different questions there. So maybe break it into two. So young entrepreneurs, the one piece of advice I would give a young entrepreneur is, if you find product market fit and deep product market fit, drive it hard and go hard. But if you struggle and if you flatline, call it early. Your life and your career is short. You can do another thing. So that distance enough, when you're an entrepreneur, you have to go in all in, and you have to believe in yourself, and you have to believe in your company. But knowing when to call it is a very important part of being an entrepreneur.
Correct.
Because you have other great ideas and great opportunities. And then as for finding mentors and collecting mentors, I've been really fortunate to collect many on my career, but it starts with you asking, hey, can I call you from time to time, and you mind asking some advice? Just ask. Most people will say yeah, because you don't get asked too often. And then the onus is on you to stay connected. And I do use the term collect. You use different mentors for different situations and different perspectives. And I think any young talent who wants to grow and learn, surrounding yourself with a great advisory board is a great idea.
Great. Thank you so much, Peter, and especially for joining us on this
Thank you,
Saturday
Sheldon.
morning. Really appreciate it. And, hi, Mom, to your mom, to my mom.
Thanks, Mom.
All
Getting
moms
the listener
watching the
numbers up.
podcast.
Really appreciate the streaming numbers there.
Yes, yes. And all the best with Seek and all the great things that you're going to do.
Thank you.
We will, I could rephrase your answer to say, seek and you shall find, right?
Seek and you shall find. That is true in life, and it is true at Seek as well.
Correct. So all the best. Thank you very much.
All right.
Have a great day. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.